Hello friends, we are live from Hope and Wildflowers. This is our first live video, so it could go really well or it could go really bad. So it is 95 degrees here today and we are up here at the Rescue Monarch Hut. We have a couple things we want to share with you guys today. For those who are joining, hello, and for anybody who sees this video later, this will be uploaded on Facebook and our YouTube channel, so you can watch it anytime or save the video. We are just going to share some things about monarchs. I'm also here with Jason. We are under we're under an umbrella. It's 95 degrees out today, and this is peak time for monarchs. We are seeing many monarchs flying around our gardens. Right now in the 95 degree weather, they will fly, but that just means the heat can make them stressed out and dehydrated. So it's very important, if I can walk over here and not lose signal, you need to have a water source close by. As you can see, the honeybees are enjoying this water, and we had a couple hummingbirds and monarchs visiting. So today we had a male monarch. If I can find him, he's hiding here somewhere, emerge. Oh, there he is. He's up in the corner. He emerged today, and that means we're going to have to test him here soon. His wings have dried. He emerged earlier this morning. His wings have dried, so we can test him for OE, and then we can set him free here in the garden. So we're going to talk a little bit about what OE is. The Rescue Hut recently sharing videos, it's brought attention to where some people are wanting to start rescuing monarchs. And that is fantastic. We can use all the help we can get to save the monarch population. As you know, they were on the endangered list. Now they are not. They're on the vulnerable list. And there's a lot of things we can do right now to help protect them. And sometimes the well-meaning ways of trying to save them, protect them are good, but sometimes they can do more harm if you don't know what you're doing. So a little backstory. We started rescuing monarchs back in 2019. We were clueless. So we're not going to point fingers at anybody who are just now rescuing them. And maybe you're making a few mistakes, or maybe you don't know about some things. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. Because like I said, in 2019, we made some mistakes. And I'll a little bit about that. I started noticing monarchs whenever it was during a very difficult season. And I was just looking for some things to bring hope and joy. And one day, while sitting on my porch, I noticed there was a monarch caterpillar that was on the pillar of the porch. And then there was one in the milkweed. And just so you know, this is called milkweed. And behind there you see a little orange plant. So let's walk around. This is called butterflyweed. So they're both really important food sources to monarchs. But back to the story. We had a caterpillar, some people call them cats. We had a caterpillar that was on the pillar of the porch in the hanging J position. Some of you may know the term, some of you may not. That basically means we see those caterpillars, that the monarchs, they're orange and black. If you have yellow, if you ever see one. This one was in hanging J position. This means it's about ready to go into a chrysalis. And I did not know this at the time. And we just excitingly removed it. And the caterpillar died. And so we thought, well, we can try to raise and rescue the other one that was in the butterflyweed. Well, not the same mistake, but we made a mistake there. Because we didn't know that it's best to rescue and raise monarchs whenever they are outside in an enclosure if they need rescued. Not inside. And we're going to go into a little bit of that, why it's important to have them outside if you're rescuing them in an enclosure like this. So first things first, Jason's here. We're going to go over a few topics, talk about OE, how to handle them, when to plant monarch weed. But if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, or if you have any after the video and you're watching us later, just message us or drop them and we'll do our best to answer them. So Jason, do you want to?
Yeah. So first thing, OE, we call it OE. It's Ophryocystis, elektroscirrha. It's a protozoan parasite. And with a name like that, we're just going to call it OE. But basically, we can detect it on monarchs by taking a piece of tape under the bottom of their abdomen and just lightly pressing against and pulling away a few scales. Then take that tape and put it against a backdrop of white paper or an index card, and we look at it under a microscope. At about 40 to 60 times magnification, you can start to see it if it's present. But basically, if that monarch has this parasite, the monarch needs to be euthanized because it will ultimately kill it, and even worse is it's going to spread it to others in the population. So that's what we test for whenever we rear them here. So before we release this little guy that just came out this morning, we're going to do that test, and if he's all clear, we're going to send him on his way, because like Steph said, it's a nice day, they're flying. But yeah, the reason we built this outdoor rescue hut, I was reading a little newsletter from the fellow that runs Monarch Watch, which is who we do our tagging program through out of the University of Kansas. And he was mentioning concerns about monarchs being raised indoors because they haven't reached, or they haven't experienced the full range of weather conditions that a monarch that's been raised fully outside has experienced. And I mean, just look at the crazy weather. We had 60-degree weather, or 30-degree weather here in June, and now it's 95 and 100 here in August. So we raise them out here in this cage after they've been rescued because unfortunately a lot of milkweed gets cut down and people don't clear caterpillars or eggs off of them. So when we see there's clear and present danger to them, we'll just gather them and bring them here. Right. And let them continue their life cycle, because it's not like there's a genetic issue or anything with them. It's just their habitat's being destroyed, which is the #1 danger to them at this point.
Right. And some of these, as you can see when I opened up here, I'm trying not to let our little friend escape because we still have to test him. We have some chrysalises hanging right here. This is what they look like. They're doing okay so far. Sometimes they can turn a meshy collar, which means we have to properly like freeze them, and because usually that means a tachnid fly got into them. There's so many factors that affect these monarchs, and we're going to go into that. But these chrysalises are here because they were once eggs or little tiny larvae that were in a field. We didn't just go out and just start getting them and bring them in. They needed rescued. So let's go over a few things. We have a little table here of stuff that we recommend. Some great sources. We are part of a monarch larva monitoring project. There is some really great books available even for children to teach them, and it's very detailed. There are talks about different parts of monarch, about the milkweed, and this is some of the rescue. This is like our little hut. We call it the little hospital that we use to bring in the monarchs or eggs here. So some of the topics today we are going to cover are
handling them safely.
Yeah, so here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read a couple of these things to you. We just wrote a couple notes down. First off, what is OE? So monarchs are vulnerable to a protozoan parasite called OE. The microscopic, which Jason talked a little bit about it earlier. Do you want to talk a little more about it?
Yeah, I mean, it can cause weakness, deformed wings, and even death. It's a major drag on the species. So that's why we test for it, because we do not want that to spread at all. And we especially don't want this rescue hut to be a hotbed of OE.
Yeah, and if you do have OE, we also will talk about how you can properly sanitize anything that's in contact with it.
Yeah, it's a 10% bleach solution. We'll mix up, put in a spray bottle after we vacuum up the frass, wipe everything down with that bleach solution.
And to vacuum up, you see these, I don't want to open the door, but there's little black dots in there. That's also called, what's monarch poop, but we call them frass. And we use this, which is basically a keyboard vacuum for your computer, and it does a great job of cleaning all the poop or any of the dried milkweed pieces. And like I said, if there is a breakout of OE, that just means we do have to euthanize the monarch, and then we have to sanitize everything. We have to get rid of the milkweed. We need to wipe down everything, the corners, everything with that bleach solution, and let it set for 10 minutes and then rinse it out. And then you just have to check for the rest of the, if you have any rescues, again, to see if they also were infected.
Yeah, thankfully it's not super common.
No, but that's one of the big things that we need to talk about whenever you rescue monarchs, because it does happen. So, okay?
Yeah, and a lot of us have pets, and one of the things that we do for our pets is to put on flea and tick treatments, because that kills those parasites. But unfortunately, if you've pet your animal, your cat, your dog, and then you handle a monarch with that on there, it can kill the monarch. So when you handle them, it's highly suggested to wear some gloves, to wash thoroughly and wear gloves.
Yeah, it could really harm the scales, and even the oils on your hands can do that. And I do see a lot of people handling them without gloves, and that's okay to do, but definitely be mindful that if you do, like Jason, have pets, wash your hands before you handle the monarch. It's okay to handle them without gloves. Sometimes I think it's easier, especially when we check for OE, but we try to always wear gloves or wash your hands thoroughly.
Yeah, and another precaution we take is to rinse off the milkweed before you put it into an enclosure like this. It'll remove dust, pesticides, potential OE spores, and just make it a better overall rearing environment for the little monarch larva.
Yeah, and also definitely check carefully for eggs. We have picked monarch, which we have, milkweed growing. We have a whole bunch of extras just for this reason. And sometimes there is a female that will lay eggs on this plant, and if you don't miss it, sometimes we put this in here, and later we come up and we find about one instar, which is
first instar, tiny little caterpillar.
And we're like, whoa, where did it come from? Well, there was an egg on there we did not see. So definitely inspect your milkweed before you put it inside of your rescue hut.
Yeah. One of the other benefits of the little rescue hut here is that the major predators of the eggs, which are like fire ants, they're fairly resistant inside here, so they're not going to get to the eggs. Thankfully, monarchs aren't too preyed upon by local species here. Praying mantises are one of them that we've seen actively hunt and kill monarchs.
Yeah.
But they're not going to get into this rescue hut. I think the only bird in the area that would eat them is an oriole, and
it's rare.
We may see one or two a year, and that's usually in early spring. They've moved on somewhere else by now. So
yeah, I think we have it listed. There's types of birds that will eat monarch caterpillars, but they're found mostly in Mexico. And like I said, Baltimore oriole is probably the only one around here that would potentially eat it. But most birds become very wise, because when they eat a monarch, it makes them really sick because of the elements that are in.
Yeah, the latex.
And the latex in the milkweed.
Makes them toxic.
And eventually, they just learn to pick it up. Don't eat it. But yeah, it does happen. We're not going to say it doesn't, but it's rare. And it's usually just the Baltimore oriole. So,
yeah, it's also harder for those taconid flies to get into them as well.
Yeah.
So that's why we try to keep everything clean and sterilized and sealed up, so that they can purely just eat milkweed, grow, shed their skin, move to the next instar, get up to full size, and then go into a chrysalis.
Yeah, when there are affected larvae with taconid fly, you will know. Believe me, it's disgusting. Basically, the fly will lay its eggs inside of a caterpillar, and it eats its way out. And we have had them before be hanging upside down in their J, and all of a sudden you'll see a string with looks like a little maggot hanging out of it. It's really disgusting. It's graphic, but that's part of rescuing monarchs, and that sadly means that they were affected. So, a couple other questions we have had. We also have given some monarchs, caterpillars, to a school so they could teach them about the life cycle. A couple things to keep in mind when teachers, if you plan on giving your students lessons on the life cycle of a monarch, there's some really important things we want to keep in mind. Yes, it does seem unfair to have them inside of a classroom where they are not exposed to the outdoor life that they are going to be going into, like the lighting, the just the outdoor weather. So some tips we have if you plan on doing that lesson this year or maybe next year, something in the future, is
limit it to just like 2 or 3 caterpillars. Don't have a whole host of them.
Yeah.
If at all possible, if you can put the enclosure outdoors safely, that would be ideal, so that way they can experience the heat, the wind, the sunlight, all of those conditions. Even better if you can plant milkweed on the school property,
or butterflyweed,
or butterflyweed, whatever native milkweed to your region.
Yeah, in a school garden, if there's one, that'd be a really great way to teach kids. And also, you want to make sure your enclosure, if it's inside the classroom, is very clean. Fresh milkweed, rinsed off milkweed. You do not want to just grab milkweed for food and just stick it in there. Make sure it's clean. And release them on a warm day when it's not calling for any rain. Make sure their wings are completely dry. It can take probably, I guess, some people recommend 24 hours, 12 hours. As long as their wings are fine, like they're completely dry, they're healthy, and it's warm out, sunny, they will be fine. And if you test them for OE.
Yeah, this little guy's flying around the enclosure.
Oh yeah, he's ready. He's ready to go get some food. So we're going to test for OE and send him on his way. But if anybody has any questions, this is peak time. We're going to start tagging our monarchs. If you don't know what that is, we will be sharing videos in the future. This is basically our tags. We did have one migrate to El Rosario, Mexico in 2022 from Oldtown, Maryland. It was a female, so
it's like a 2,000-mile journey.
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible. So if you do this correctly, it's very rewarding, not only for you as having a sense of accomplishment of doing something and being part of something, but the monarchs, you're benefiting from them, and they certainly bring a lot of joy right now. And we, like I said, last year at this time, we started counting our wild monarchs to start tagging. We had over 100. So some things you can do. Yes, plant milkweed. Be mindful of where you plant the milkweed, because it does spread. And some things about milkweed that we want to talk about here is when to plant milkweed. The best time to plant and transplant. You can plant it in the spring or fall when temperatures are cooler. So not right now would not be ideal to transplant milkweed or butterflyweed, because it's too dry. The plant will just die, and you're basically just robbing them from their food source and their habitat. So when temperatures are cooler and there's more consistent rainfall. Here, it has been, oh my gosh, we had one day of decent rain, and it's just been not good. August is very dry here anymore.
We've had pretty good luck with milkweed plugs in the spring.
Yeah.
And late fall plantings of seeds seem to take really well here. Yeah. So if you have time to plant it.
And this is something really important I want to note about milkweed. Like I said, this is butterflyweed, this is milkweed. This is what you'll probably see a lot of in fields around here when you're driving by. Really important note, this is toxic to livestock. And it's only toxic if the livestock eat an abundance of it. So if they consume large quantities, it can do some damage. Most cows growing up on my farm, my pap, he always had milkweed in the fields. Cows are pretty smart not to eat it because it doesn't have a great taste. But if you plan to cut that field with hay and you chop up the hay, and it goes, the milkweed, you chop it up in the bales. If there's large quantities of it, it can be toxic to your livestock, so please keep that in mind. Keep it away from grazing areas of cattle, horses, or goats. And if you want to plant milkweed, butterflyweed, milkweed will spread, so I don't recommend put it next to your garden. It will go into your garden, and you don't want that around your plants. It can be invasive, so if you have an open field dedicated to this, fantastic. Plant more and keep it contained, because they do spread, and you want to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, the common milkweed spreads by rhizome underground, and you won't see it until it pops up.
Right. And you want to choose well-drained spots where you plant your milkweed to make it thrive. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we want to cover. Go ahead.
No, so here in Maryland, we're part of the Eastern Migratory Monarch, and here on the 22nd or 23rd, the generation here, like this monarch you see, and the caterpillars that are currently in the chrysalis, they're going to be migrating down to Mexico, and that's based on the latitude about when they start. So it's going to be about the 22nd or 23rd here, which is when we're going to start tagging.
Yeah. Plant as many wildflowers as you can. Reduce pesticides. Wildflowers, they need food sources, especially this generation, because they need food sources to travel. So any kind of nectar is really important right now. They rely on that. So some nectar sources, they're zinnias. We're seeing a lot of monarchs on our zinnias right now. Definitely butterflyweed. Ours is blooming like crazy right now. We have some right here, and there's just a lot. And definitely have water sources. And when you clean your water sources like fountains, whatnot, do not use bleach water for that, because it will harm the birds and any other animals. There's a monarch right there flying. It will harm them. You want to make sure you use vinegar water and scrub that baby. Get your elbow grease going and make sure they're clean, and use fresh water. And if you can, put shade cloth up around. So hot days like this, as an example, we use shade cloth. You can see the algae starting to build up on the rocks, so we're gonna have to clean that. But putting a shade cloth over this can reduce and keep the water moving. Shade cloth can help ease with the buildup of algae, because heat does build up algae.
Avoids that bloom.
Flower farmers, you know that if you have buckets of flowers. So yes, here's some of the things we have here. Again, here's some books. We can list them below to check out to learn more about monarchs. And if you come by the stand, we do have a monarch way station with flyers available. We also have little cards we're going to hopefully be putting down soon that can show you pictures, so you know this is little monarch caterpillar, and just different information. And here is what an egg looks like. I do have pictures on my...
There's OE on the scales.
Yeah, that is OE. So if you see, this is normal scales. Excuse my fingers. I am a flower farmer, so and a gardener, so they're not... There's no manicures. But so here is... You can kind of see little dots. That is OE. And that's what an egg looks like. And let me tell you, the eggs... I wish I had one with you right now, but I can tell you right now it is probably so small, about the size, smaller than those dots on there. And they are found on butterflyweed and milkweed. That's their host plant. That's where you can find them. So it is 95 degrees out here. It is warm. Again, if anybody has any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Message us. We are here to help. We've been doing this since 2019. Are we experts? Heck no. But we are experienced. We have taken classes. We have read. We love to read. We love to learn. So if anybody has more experience under their belt and wants to share more information, definitely bring it to the table. We would love to listen and learn more, because our goal here is not to try to outdo one another with this. Our goal is trying to rescue, save the population and all pollinators if possible. We do rescue other pollinators here. We have honeybees. We're trying to start with bats. We even rescue cats. But that's something we haven't really got into in a while, but we do have a lot of rescue cats. But there's a lot of ways you can help and do it, make a difference in the world, and monarchs are definitely one of those things that bring joy. So, Jason, any last minute words?
Yeah, you don't have to rescue monarchs if you want to help. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is just plant milkweed.
Yeah.
And the one we would recommend the most is that butterflyweed, because, I mean, you can spin around and see, look how many other species it helps feed.
Yeah.
And it is a native host plant of monarchs, and it doesn't spread. So wherever you plant it, it's generally going to stay there. It will create a lot of seeds, so it may spread a little by seed, but it's not going to get out of control. And you can do a massive lot of good by just planting, because that's really what they need the most, is a regional specific milkweed to your area, because that also helps indicate to them as they migrate how far south they need to travel. Yeah. It's like a gas station on a long trip.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this guy tested for OE, and we have one up there. You can see it's really dark. It's going to be emerging probably tomorrow. So the darker with a chrysalis, they get really dark and almost transparent to where you can see the wings. That means it's close to emerging. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for those who have joined in or if you plan on catching us later. Again, drop your questions below, and we just are going to do our part here. So this is the Hope Wildflowers Rescue Hut, and hopefully in the future we can share more information. And yeah, so hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. It is hot here, but we go ahead and get some water. So thank you for hanging out with us.
We're going to keep going and keep growing.
Yep.
Take care, everyone.